The pads popped again today at 49ers training camp practice. And Brock Purdy did the Dougie after a touchdown run. A lot of intriguing stuff on that field, including a pick six for the rookie Jaden Duggar, who was back at stack linebacker today at practice after he was with the 49ers defensive ends. So Duggar, it looks like they're really trying to develop a hybrid defender like a Jalen Walker in Atlanta who played for Raheem Morris. More on that in the pick six in a bit. First, we've got to get through some of these injuries. By the end of practice today, the 49ers were down 20 players. However, many of the absences were precautionary, and I think that Chris Foerster did a good job putting that into perspective here.
Sometimes guys are dinged up, you keep them out just because, you don't want to risk it in July. Guys that probably would play it if it were a game this week. So you can't overreact to injuries. You also have to be careful. You can't not pay attention to them. But it's always opportunities for other guys.
Nick Bosa, Osa Odighizuwa, and Dre Greenlaw all out with soreness today. And I saw both Odighizuwa and Dre Greenlaw essentially going through a full-speed workout on the side. And then Dre Greenlaw stood next to Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch in center field and was going through mental reps on every single snap. So obviously he's chomping at the bit to get out there, but as Chris Foerster said, you don't want to take away from January reps just so guys can do stuff in August. 49ers being careful there. They're being careful with Dejon Stribling and Mike Evans. Both of them were running at full speed off on the side. Stribling with a hamstring tightness. Evans with the quad injury, the strained quad for the 49ers. But San Francisco obviously being as careful as possible. And I think it's important to note and differentiate between when the 49ers are playing it cautiously and when guys are actually hurt. In the case of Kyle Juszczyk, broken finger, actually hurt, so Kyle Juszczyk did not practice today. Another interesting injury for the 49ers, and this ties into one of the very interesting position battle developments. Jacob Cowing was out with a hip flexor today, and I will say that I think that Junior Bergen has a very, very good chance to make this football team. Bergen, much smaller than Alfred Collins, pictured here, the largest 49er. Junior Bergen caught a couple more passes from Brock Purdy in the red zone. We'll talk a little bit more about the fact that I think he might beat out Jacob Cowing. Remember, that punt returner job is wide open for the 49ers. Anyway, on to this highlight reel, started by CJ West and Alfred Collins. Here's a look at Connor Colby, 75, 49ers guard. He was not taking first team reps today. Instead, it was Robert Jones, the veteran. So the left guard battle is far from settled, and I think the 49ers want to get much more creative with mixing and matching the interior line. But there was no Brett Toth today, undisclosed injury. And also for the 49ers, there was no Carver Willis, the rookie who's in the concussion protocol. Here's Gracen Halton, made his return to practice, rookie defensive tackle out of Oklahoma. Explosive body, I think a little bit larger than the 49ers anticipated, so he might be able to deliver against the run for San Francisco with some regularity this season. 49ers signed a veteran receiver, Khadarel Hodge, today. Here's a look at him wearing the number 0, helping with some of the depth issues at that position here in the dog days of training camp. I also like a couple of the 49ers young defensive tackles who were undrafted. This is James Thompson Jr., longer defensive tackle out of Illinois. He's actually shown some nice power for San Francisco over the course of this training camp. Right after him is another undrafted free agent, Bryson Eason. Much lower to the ground, more of the fire hydrant, CJ West type. That is Bryson Eason working at practice. Both of those UDFAs have done some good stuff for the 49ers, and so has the second-year man, Sebastian Valdez. They call him the Hulk. Valdez working hard at practice. So as we talk about Vita Vea, obviously a long shot to be able to get somebody of that stature, especially if the Bucs currently don't want to trade him. Plans can change. Obviously, the 49ers' health situation can change as well. It did today with Gracen Halton coming back at defensive tackle, so the 49ers cut Kevin Givens, the veteran who was there to bridge the gap. So they're rather healthy at defensive tackle. They have Osa Odighizuwa, But that can change very quickly. And, you know, when you look at defensive end, it's much, much thinner for the 49ers. Samuel Kawanu seemed to hobble off at the end of practice today. So that's been a constant depth issue for the 49ers. All right, let's go through exactly what happened at practice today. One player who has been consistently impressive throughout this entire training camp is Christian McCaffrey. We saw him go into his creative bag of off-season tricks when it came to training, and well, he's a year further removed from the Achilles tendonitis. Christian has looked spry. Age is just a number. He turned 30 in early June, but he is moving well. And today, a beautiful play. Brock Purdy rolled to his right, and obviously the defense followed the quarterback's eyes. Christian McCaffrey snuck around from the left side, crossing the field toward the right, really behind the defense in a way, and Purdy threw a 25-yard bullet that hit McCaffrey in stride. Might have been a touchdown in a real game. So Christian, who does so well to dance around, find the holes on the football field, also is a weapon in the pass game. And it seems that he's on a mission. Just listen to Chris Foerster on Christian McCaffrey.
He looks really, really good this camp. Very decisive this camp, running decisively, running downhill hard. Very, very no-nonsense approach this season. Wants to come back and have a really, really strong season, and again continue what he's always done.
Now, when it comes to who's blocking for Christian McCaffrey, the big question for the 49ers is left guard. And I think some people were prematurely saying that Connor Colby is going to win this competition. It's impossible to say that when pads have only been on for a handful of practices. Lo and behold, Robert Jones was in that left guard driver's seat today. So the 49ers are giving an opportunity to the veteran Jones, who played for the Miami Dolphins, then was with the Cowboys, but sat out all of last season with a neck injury. I will say that neither Colby nor Jones has been overpowering in one-on-ones. I still think that it's a big, big question mark for the 49ers in pass protection. And despite all the progress and the strength that Colby gained over the course of this offseason, according to Chris Foerster, maybe a little bit of a regression has happened ever since the pads have come on.
Connor, you know, Dominic has made more strides. He's had a great offseason, and Dominic's continued into training camp. Connor made great strides in the offseason, same way. It looked like he'd made a big step. Now we're getting back to some live work, and even though it has improved, some of those same holes are still there. Just like a year ago with Dom, he tried to fix them in the offseason, he did, but then when the the live work and pads started, it started not being as consistent. So some of the things that he struggled with a year ago are coming back. Not as bad as they were, but still not the consistency that we'd like to see.
We've just got to let this play out. It's either Jones or Colby, or maybe the 49ers won't settle there. Maybe they're going to look to make a trade. Maybe they can make a signing at that left guard position. Somebody's going to have to step up and actually grab it and win it for the 49ers to be firmly comfortable up front. Now, one thing that's going to help the comfort of their offensive line is the fact that Raheem Morris's defense is employing a lot more five-man fronts than the 49ers defenses run. So that's changed, but it's helping the 49ers offensive line practice. And they've been great running against four-down fronts, but the five-man fronts have thrown the 49ers for a little bit more of a loop over the years. Jake Brendel, 49ers starting center, explained well how facing the 49ers defense is going to better prepare this 49ers offensive line to run block.
We were running against the 49 front pretty much the entire time, years past, right? Which is good because then we're really good against the 49 front, but it also kind of lacks the preparation towards all the other fronts that you might see in the regular season. So, yeah, I feel like, the scheme now is pretty much every single front you can possibly think of you're going to see, which makes sure that we're mentally ready and we see all the different looks that we can possibly see before we get to week one. So I think it's definitely, a positive. You're going to see MAs in practice more because you're going to have unscouted looks, but I think those are worth it just so, you're not going against the exact same front every single time. And then week one of preseason or regular season, you see a completely different defense.
Now, Brendel is very happy to have Deebo Samuel back.
He has a highlight film of 100 plays where he looks like he's killing people.
Have you noticed changes in your energy, mood, or your body as you've gotten older? Has it been harder to crank out 2 tough days at the gym or just bounce back? or an outing with friends, maybe watch the 49ers after a tough workout at the gym. Well, it doesn't have to be that way. Hone Health is the top telehealth clinic for men, ranked #1 by Forbes Health. And the process is super easy. You start with a blood test that covers over 50 biomarkers: testosterone, prostate health, cholesterol, blood sugar, plus kidney and liver function. And then you get to talk to a doctor to go over your results. From there, a doctor will personalize a treatment plan for you. Might include TRT, might include hair loss treatment, might include peptides, and more. I can't believe how easy and affordable it is to get tested by Hone Health. Talk to a real doctor, get a treatment plan, and start feeling like yourself again. Get tested for just $65. The link is in the bio.
And although you didn't have to face him today, Brendel has had a good look at Osa Odighizuwa. The 49ers pick up a defensive tackle in that trade with the Dallas Cowboys.
We've had the pleasure to play each other a few times. He's athletic, but he's also long, and he's got that fast twitch, which you really can't find in a long player like that. He's also just a freak strength guy, right? I played with his brother in college, and they're both pretty much carbon copies of each other. They're both just absolute freaks athletically. So, he really applies that stuff that he does in the off season and in the gym to the field. And he's also savvy, right? Like, he can look at a guy's stance. He can read kind of, if you're leaning or if you have, a different tell in your stance for some reason. You can, he's one of those smart guys that can tell if a guy's pulling or tell if a guy's going to be run blocking or pass blocking. So, I feel like he's, like all the additions we've made, he's a good addition.
All right, deeper look into exactly what happened at practice today. Starting with the one-on-ones where Gracen Halton was back, coming off the bone bruise in his knee, and he had an explosive win that involved a swim move against Nick Zakelj, and Halton yelled out something that might have included an expletive after. He was really, really fired up. Remember that Gracen, I've mentioned this a couple times, played running back and wide receiver in high school, super explosive. If he indeed can play the run a little bit better than the 49ers even anticipated when they drafted him in the 4th round out of Oklahoma, well, he could be a 3 technique for this football team. He could see a lot of snaps this season. It is good news that he was able to return after just about a week from the bone bruise in his knee, because he needs these reps in training camp. He was getting a lot of personalized work and attention from Chris Foerster today during the drill portion of practice. Offensive side of the ball, Luke Farrell, veteran tight end, didn't have a great year. His first year with the 49ers, was a free agent addition in 2025. Caught only 11 passes on the season, had a critical fumble against Jacksonville in the 49ers' first loss of the year. Luke Farrell is catching a lot of passes this training camp, and he has especially good chemistry with Brock Purdy. I was wondering where Farrell would fall in the pecking order if he didn't improve this year, but the improvement, I think, is happening, especially in that pass game. 3 more catches from Purdy today, always seems to be in the right spot, and Purdy seems to be throwing the ball to lead Farrell on those passes. So to me, it's clear that there is good chemistry, certainly improving chemistry or improved chemistry from last year between those 2 players. So that's a big arrow up for the 49ers. Brock Purdy had Jordan Watkins for a big gainer today, and then practice ended with Mac Jones throwing what could have been a touchdown on a long pass down the sideline to Jordan Watkins. So we talk a lot about Deebo Samuel. The contract, I think, speaks for itself. We saw it yesterday, 54% of it is guaranteed, so maybe around $3.5 million guaranteed, maybe $3.7 million guaranteed for Deebo Samuel. The rest of that is incentive-based. A lot of that is based on yardage incentives. Very, very clear that they have picked up somebody who, I don't want to say gadget weapon, because that often can minimize what Deebo Samuel can do, but he's one of the great gadget weapons in this league's history, right? Not a pure receiver, not a pure running back. He changed the way that people looked at Kyle Shanahan's offense when he was with the 49ers the first time. He's going to be that kick returner for San Francisco. There's a big incentive in his contract for that when it comes to top 10 in kick return average. But beyond that, he gives the 49ers so much more than the typical special teams signing at the offensive positions, whether it be carrying the football or catching the football. So when I talk about Jordan Watkins winning in a standard wide receiver way, I think that the 49ers would love if Jordan Watkins won the Ricky Pearsall job as the full-time Z, so that they could truly have Deebo Samuel settle in as this rover, as this offensive weapon, as this bulldozer, pressure off, total opposite of the situation where Deebo Samuel had to press through 2024 because there was so much defensive attention on him. If you could have Deebo Samuel just be a weapon, that bulldozer, while the other receivers are doing the standard stuff, I think you've got a good chance to really take this offense to the next level. And the goal for the 49ers has to be the best offense in the league this year. Brock Purdy is that good. He's going to have the highest quarterback rating, qualifying quarterback rating in NFL history after just a few attempts this year. He's been the best quarterback when it comes to measurable efficiency in the NFL ever since he joined the league in 2022. When you have Purdy, when you have Mike Evans, when you have Trent Williams, when you have Christian McCaffrey, who we've talked about, I mean, I could go down the list of all the great players the 49ers have on offense, and it's before we even get to the youngsters like Dejon Stribling and Kalen Black, who obviously haven't been practicing here for the last few sessions. But you go down that list and you see what they were able to do last year despite not even having a competent wide receiver core. Well, this year the goal has to be astronomical for that 49ers offense. Speaking of the offense last year, they had to go to really an emergency option at X receiver when they played Philadelphia in the NFC playoffs, and that was Demarcus Robinson. Had a huge game. Demarcus Robinson continues to make some big catches at 49ers practice. He actually opened things up with a really physical catch against the safety Ashton Davis. Later on, though, they ran a little fade ball to Demarcus Robinson in the end zone, and nice pass breakup from Darrell Luter Jr. Deebo is definitely lighter than he was in 2024, so I think he's moving horizontally across the field when the 49ers run some of those sweeps fast enough to hit the edge and to give the 49ers that extra dimension offensively. We'll keep a close eye on that as this season progresses. Back to the Duggar pick six, because I know that's what I opened this show with. Ball was thrown by Adrian Martinez, tipped by Jack Jones, who's been active for the 49ers. That's a veteran cornerback addition, somebody who's going to give the 49ers valuable depth there. I think that Deommodore Lenoir and Renardo Green are your top two corners, and Upton Stout, by the way, also spoke today. We always love hearing Upton Stout speak. Why don't we listen a little bit into that?
Well, I feel like it's a good scheme. It allows the DB to play fast, not think too much, and just use our best capabilities on the field. So I feel like it's a good scheme for the group and the type of guys we have.
What specifically do you feel like you're able to do now?
Just be free, make plays, and just really be ourselves, honestly. And that's really all it is. Everybody be able to tap into their inner self and just have fun and be free running around.
He thinks that Raheem Morris's new scheme is really going to help unlock the next level of this defensive backfield. And it helped Jack Jones on that tip that turned into the Jaden Duggar interception. And, you know, speaking of the scheme, I know Jalen Walker just suffered that season-ending injury. Thoughts out to him in Atlanta. But you saw how the Falcons used him as a hybrid defender, somebody who could rush off the edge but also play linebacker. I think that's exactly where the 49ers are going with Jaden Duggar. Linebacker for most of these practices, but was at defensive end the other day. He's got a wingspan longer than Aldon Smith's. His wingspan of 7 feet is longer than anyone that I've ever studied or seen play linebacker. I did some research. I couldn't find any linebackers with a 7-foot wingspan. The tape for Jaden Duggar was rough at linebacker at Louisiana Lafayette when he was new to the position. But the 49ers really, really believe that there is developmental meat on the bone there. I think when I talk about Jalen Walker, somebody who could play all over that front seven, I think that maybe there will be more of a focus toward an outside linebacker, a Sam linebacker kind of spot. I know the 49ers are hybridizing between a 4-3 and a 3-4, so the Sam is officially a 4-3 piece of terminology for one of the backers that's not the Mike, that's not on the inside. But I think that the 49ers will find a way to try to maximize Jaden Duggar's skill set in both realms, pass rushing and dropping back into coverage. Today, I know it wasn't his clean pick, but it was off the tip of Jack Jones, and then we saw Jaden Duggar run a bit on the way back. If there is one player who is emblematic of how this 49ers defense will hope to evolve and progress under their new defensive coordinator, Raheem Morris, it is Jaden Duggar. So the past 2 practices have been fascinating to me. He got a sack, a would-be sack coming off the edge in his first team drill rep the other day, and today he was working at that linebacker position with the pick 6. And, 20 guys out, it doesn't matter if most of them are precautionary. It does give younger players more opportunities to succeed out on that practice field. Couple more 49ers moves today. They did sign Ogbo Okoronkwo, the veteran edge rusher, 250-pounder, started his career with the Rams, played under Raheem Morris. His best season was under Raheem Morris in 2021. They worked him out a few days ago. I said that he's a guy who's played under multiple respected defensive coordinators, including Morris and Jim Schwartz and Vic Fangio. Thought that it would be a good utility add for the 49ers, so they have added Okoronkwo. I told you about Hodge, the receiver that they added today. They cut Kevin Givens and they cut Cam Sample, who had a knee injury. So the veteran addition previously of the Cincinnati Bengals, we thought that he might be a good hybrid defensive lineman for the 49ers. But maybe the strength that they've shown at defensive tackle has allowed them to say, and I don't know the severity of the knee injury either, but obviously not a player who the 49ers considered indispensable. Those are the roster moves. Here are the sleds on another day of 49ers practice.
Go, throw your hands. There you go, JT. Come on, Grace, go! Everybody, get under it. Get under it. Oh, right there. Good pop. Good jump off. See that dot. That's down. See the dot. Get down. Right there. Good. Right here. Come on, Ogbo. Get down. Get down. See the dot. Get under it.